This week on Prof and Dev Play Games, we are talking about unionization again, but this time at Blizzard, and then we're talking about San Diego Comic-Con. Stay tuned. All right, my friends, welcome to episode 441 of Prof and Dev Play Games. My name is Larry, the professor, and I'm at Prof Plays Games on Twitter. Over there is Anthony, the dev. He is at SummerSpeak, and wow, how's it going, man?
It's going okay. Having a quiet weekend. I had a week of 5 days in the office last week. Oh,
face-to-face?
Face-to-face. The new designers we've been hiring, my reports all flew in. We called it the Design Conclave. We'll probably do this once a year, but I was there every day to meet these people and actually have like face-to-face conversations. And
sure.
How the fuck did I do this?
How did you get through 5 days face-to-face? Oh, before, yeah, every day.
How? I don't know. By like Thursday, I was like, how did I ever do this in a past life?
Isn't that crazy? It was just normal for us. We had no problem. It was like normal.
I was so tired. My social batteries were so drained. I was like, why? Why does anyone do this?
Yeah. Oh my God.
I'm so looking forward. I just had a quiet weekend and just go back to my normal work flow. It was a great meeting all the new designers in person.
Right.
So it's very worth it. I had a great time, but
very cool.
Yeah. I've already forgotten about those pre-pandemic times and what I used to do.
Dude, it was so long ago, over 4 years ago. Unbelievably. 4.5.
Yeah.
Well, why don't we jump right into it? Unionization at Blizzard. This dropped while I might have been in Houston at the AFT convention. Doing some union stuff, but I believe it's the second wall-to-wall. Isn't it a wall-to-wall?
It is wall-to-wall for Blizzard Team 2.
Okay, Blizzard Team 2.
Not all Blizzard, which is the World of Warcraft team.
Got it. Oh, that's right. That's what the news.
Only the World of Warcraft team.
Interesting. Seeing one, I wonder. I didn't read any of the news, so maybe you can fill us in on like what you know about it.
I mean, that's basically all I know. It kind of followed the same as Bethesda. They were talking with CWA. I think historically, like WoW, probably the WoW team is the one that makes probably the most money for Blizzard still over all these time. I mean, you get subscriptions every month. Right. It's still millions of subscribers, expansion coming out, but it's also been probably one of the teams that has had a lot of I wouldn't say awful labor practices, but is probably prone to it with running a live service game and, I won't say layoffs, but like shifting people off of teams and back on. I assume it's going to probably make it harder to just randomly shift people off the team.
Yeah,
I'm not
saying
fire, like actually,
contract,
yeah. I guess that's what they'll be working out is like what that would be.
That's the thing is that always when the unionization happens, it kind of you start thinking about like, well, this will happen, but really it just all depends on what gets negotiated.
Yeah. Yeah, it was weird. Not weird. It's first odd to me. I'm like, oh, this isn't all of Blizzard. It's just this one team. Hopefully it spreads to the other teams.
That's the thing that stands out to me too, is like, why, like, did this team approach the other teams and they said no, or they like, we're just going to do it. Like, we know we can do us, so we're going to do us.
And I believe the WoW team's the biggest team there. They're over 500 people.
Okay.
So, I'm pretty sure the Diablo team's like half that size, if that.
Wall to wall, baby.
Yeah, it's slowly working through. And like you said before, and we said last week, Microsoft has to be hands off right now on this. So
yeah, part of the merger deal was that they had to be neutral if their teams wanted to form unions, and this is the time to strike. Microsoft teams, go! And these are the biggest, like most high profile teams doing it. So
they're really high profile.
These are the big dominoes falling. Then the rest are probably going to come after, especially when they get if they get the contracts and they can see what's in those contracts and think, fuck, I want that too.
Yeah, pretty much. Very, very curious. Like Microsoft's been neutral on this. Now we're seeing the last 2 weeks, 2 teams in Microsoft doing this. Probably close to like 750 people unionizing there over the last couple weeks. I'm wondering if we'll see traction at any of the other publishers. Like, this should happen at EA. I brought it up in Discord. BioWare should be doing this. Like, they should have done this a long time ago. EA doesn't have the best track record if you go back long enough. EA Spouse and all of that stuff from a long time ago.
Yep, that's right.
But they got labor laws changed in California because of them, but still no unionization happened. And I'm waiting to see if something like that would happen. And I think BioWare would be a pretty good place to start at EA. It'd be there or DICE, or probably like the two teams that would be like, they're separate enough from EA under the umbrella that they would do that. I'm sure some QA. I have to look back over the years. I bet there's some QA people unionized in EA, but
yeah, I always think about the QA Activision, a couple of teams, Ravensoft and whatever else. I don't remember EA, but maybe. But isn't BioWare mostly set in Canada? Am I wrong about that?
They are Canadian.
Yeah. I wonder what the labor laws there are that would or would not prevent them from trying this.
Yeah, it's hard to say. I always try to think of Canada as being a little bit more
open to it.
Open to all this, but I could be wrong. That could just be a stereotype that I've just had because it's Canada, and they seem more in favor of a lot of these things.
Well, and we're in the U.S. right now. We're seeing support for labor unions at an all-time high. So this is the time to go, man. I mean, AFT, the UAW. And UAW is interesting. Sean Fain spoke to us at an AFT in Houston. He's the president of the UAW, which is the United Auto Workers. And I always think of the United Auto Workers as the union for auto workers, but they have like education, they have nurses, like there's UAW, kind of like with CFT or AFT, American Federation of Teachers. They're going by just AFT now because it's more than just teachers, it's paraprofessionals, it's classified staff, it's nurses, it's a couple other things. Like, it's just a huge union with lots of things. It started as teachers, and just same thing with UAW. It started as auto workers, and now it's more things. And CWA, I mean, it's mainly I guess maybe it started with whatever communication workers meant. Newspaper? I don't know. Okay. But now, video games and whatever else. Like, it's just, it's great, man, to see workers unite. Peacefully.
I was looking, EA, BioWare QA, who worked for Keywords, unionized 2 years ago.
Okay.
Not a huge number. It's like under 20.
Yeah.
And it's not EA directly. It's Keywords, who is a...
Sure. Like a contractor or whatever?
Yeah, they source QA for worldwide. They have branches everywhere, and they're a lot of companies. Systemera has used Keywords in the past at times if we need extra QA hands, but but yeah, they're just they're kind of like a middleman for QA. But the ones that worked for EA in Edmonton unionized 2 years ago.
Cool. So there's movement there. So that means it's possible in Canada, which makes a lot of sense. So good times ahead. I felt proud this weekend. This would be our segue here. I didn't have a lanyard going into Comic-Con because they mailed me my tickets and badge. So I grabbed the only free lanyard I had, which was a BlizzCon lanyard, and I was like, I can wear this now. I feel good. They're unionizing. I can do this now. CodexCon, they're unionizing. It's a different Blizzard. San Diego Comic-Con. Before I get into all my stories, I just you were out, away from Comic-Con watching the news. What kind of big news came out that stood out to you?
What was I?
Besides
weirdly, it was
Doom, I guess.
The Marvel thing hit on Saturday night when that went insane. Not actually a lot, I will say. I checked my normal news sites. There wasn't a lot of game stuff that I felt like bubbled up out of it.
Some Mortal Kombat. I'll talk about it later, but some small stuff.
I didn't like stuff there. You went to the BioWare, the Dragon Age thing. I haven't seen any articles on that anywhere.
Interesting.
Nope, haven't seen any reporting on what was even talked about there. I did see someone was asked if the BioShock movie is still happening, and that got answered. was a producer of it was promoting something else, and said it's still happening. It's just its budget is going to be lower. Which is probably the correct thing because movie budgets are insane, right?
Yeah.
Like they've gotten kind of crazy.
Kind of like video game budgets.
Yeah, in general.
AAA, at least, I should say.
A lot of, and especially I think the BioShock movie was meant to be for Netflix, and Netflix had been prone to spending a lot of money, probably more than they should. So,
in the race for content,
all those streaming services have. Speaking of which, you're talking about like Apple Plus. That came out. Severance season 2. It's reported that each episode cost $20 million.
Good Lord.
And I'm like, why would you? I'm like, I haven't seen enough of Severance or much of anything, but it doesn't seem like a show that needs $20 million per episode.
Yeah, I wonder what that's in, because the special effects isn't a ton. It's really like interior white office space for the most part, unless season 2 goes wild. But salaries for people, I guess.
I know, but I'm just like, oh, that's an per episode expense. That's a lot. And I think there's that race for content of just like, we'll just put all the money we can. I'm like, I don't know if you'll ever make this money back. It's a lot like video games. A lot of the big AAAs right now are just putting so much into their budgets, and I'm like, it makes it hard to make that money back. So BioShock movie, similar thing, but they're actually like, let's reduce the budget and make it a smaller, more personal film, which might actually just be a better film.
Cooler. Yeah, it might be a better film. Back to the content race real fast. The idea of Apple TV Plus spending $20 million in an episode on Severance, if you think about, like, let's look at all their shows and kind of average it out. Let's say it's $10 million an episode or whatever. Like, you're enticing people to stay subscribed. So I can see why that might make sense. I don't know if you make your money back, as opposed to like a AAA where every 8 years we get one game and there's not really a lot of monetization in between. I don't know. I know numbers make sense, but Apple's got a fuck ton of money, so.
Yeah, they do. And all the streaming services are still trying to figure out how to be actually like nicely profitable. I think they are a little bit, but they're still having, last I've seen, all the streaming services and are just still trying to figure it out. I think they thought things would go a little bit more subscribers overall. Kind of seeing a flattening to that.
Right. Yeah. The line's not going up.
Unless completely new markets are coming in. So.
Yeah, I guess it's possible, but yeah.
Yeah, exactly. I was listening to somewhere. It was an Adam Conover podcast from like a couple weeks ago, and it was all about AI. It was the guy talking about this is the thing, being like kind of just like shooting down like AI actually getting better than it is right now. Mm-hmm. Going like, no, this is that you're trying. There's this dream of like, oh, look at how far it could go, and people are what it could do, and like, no, this is what it does. It doesn't do more than this, actually. If you all the stuff like ChatGPT showing they can like render movies out and like it can create videos, like you can't use it. Like rendering a like high quality video out through ChatGPT takes like a day. Like, and it's really messed up. Like, don't look too closely or you're gonna see 6 fingers or random arm in a frame coming out. Like, the whole discussion was more around like going like, they need, right now we're clearly in a bubble of it, and all these companies are really trying to be like, no, it's really cool and it's going to keep getting better. But there's not actual evidence. Exactly. There's not actual evidence that it's going to get as revolutionary as they want it to be. But the whole point coming back was it was mostly talking about tech industry and like how like the number of new people on the internet is flattening globally. Like there aren't new people.
Is it because the old people fall off when they die and the new people come in, replace them, and that's kind of replacement level? But we've like the internet and like where companies can really reach to new users. Mm-hmm. The globe has been connected at this point. There's pockets here and there in like different third world countries and poor nations, but not at like enormous numbers of people. Like the speed at which new
people are connecting to the internet or having some sort of data connection is just way lower than it was like 10 years ago.
Yeah. Like the market is there, that the people, the audience is there.
And it's like, this is the audience now.
Yeah.
You're not finding new audience. Like,
well, and you can't sell things on the prospect of it growing exponentially. So the AI thing does, like you were saying, it does feel like an oil field where it's like, hey, we swear to God, there's oil under this field. Buy it. Like, well, maybe and maybe not. Crypto too.
We'll talk about that because I did some digging on a game you played, and I was like, oh no.
Dude, that's why I wanted to tell you it instead of type it, because it's pretty wild what happened in that play session.
Yeah, we'll talk about that.
We'll talk about it. Yeah, let me tell you how that came up in that conversation.
Yeah, so streaming, I think there's not new markets for them to like hockey stick grow their line anymore. It's like,
no, yeah,
they've really captured the audiences there, and now all these services are really having to like they have to put a lot of energy and money to acquire more people to their service.
Yep. Or just get acquired and then the people on top get out.
Exactly. There you go.
That's what AI is, in my view.
So yeah, that came out of Comic-Con. Was there anything else that I really saw? Not a huge amount, actually. I was I felt like it was a little quiet overall until the Marvel thing hit. Mm-hmm. There was some Star Trek trailers that came out. I know that supposedly there was a Like a Dragon trailer.
Oh, really?
But
from Netflix, because it's come out on Netflix this year.
Yeah, and I haven't watched it. Yeah, there's a teaser trailer that came out a day ago. I have not watched it yet.
Very cool.
But again, I just knew that a trailer came out. I don't know anything about if there was a panel there and people talked about it. But I would say from external, it was a little quiet.
It felt, I don't know. This was my favorite Comic-Con. I think I've been to 4. Maybe this is my 4th or 5th. Not sequential. This was my personal favorite just because of how often I bumblefucked my way into something awesome. So I'm just going to kind of go chronologically and talk about my experience at Comic-Con. I was in AFT Houston Sunday through Thursday, flew in Thursday night and went to Comic-Con Friday. It was kind of, I'm fucking tired. It's been a week. But I wanted to go to the Veilguard panel. So I figured out it was in room 6 BCF, I think. So just happened to, getting in the line to go to Comic-Con and just happened to get into the right escalators, the right lines, just wandered right to the right spot. I thought I was going to have to wait a while because the lines at Comic-Con are crazy. I was in the room within 15 minutes. And I was really excited. And then I was like, oh, fuck, the first panel. I'm here way early because the first panel is Funko Fusion. And they were very enthusiastic about it. I actually like it. I like it more than I did because the reveal was on Switch, right?
Sure.
And it looked like garbage. It's still Funko, but I didn't realize it was former Telltale. Telltale? That's not right. Okay. No, Traveler's Tales? TT. The one that did the Lego games. So a bunch of people from the Lego games did this, and as soon as they said that and they started showing more of the game, I was like, oh, this is a Lego game. It's the Lego humor, hidden stuff, bonus stuff. Like, it's very Lego. So if you're into the Lego games, like, there's something here for you. If you fucking hate Funko Pops, then this is not going to be for you. But they revealed just a bunch of, Shaun of the Dead's in it. They revealed some crossover stuff.
Sure.
Their excitement for it was really cool. Like, they were really excited for it. However, many times during the panel, they were practically begging people to wishlist it and tell their friends about the game because, quote, we need to stay as a studio. We want to keep making money. We want to be able to keep our jobs. And I was just like, the first time it was kind of funny. Second time I was like, oh, they're referencing like what's going on in the industry because there's a bunch of shit, And then, but like after the 12th time, I was like, oh God, are they seeing like dire numbers behind the scenes? Which I could see, I guess.
Likely, I'll be honest.
Yeah.
It's not like that game's hitting any kind of zeitgeist right now.
Yeah, exactly.
Was it Funko Fusion?
It was Funko Fusion, yeah. And then the biggest pop from the whole thing was at the end, they revealed, and I don't know if this was in it before, but they revealed Invincible is in it. So then Robert Kirkman came out, and Robert Kirkman's a little crazy. He started throwing things out in the audience and just being really wild on the panel. But that was when it was just a huge pop. So Invincible's in there. And then after that, I was excited because that day at midnight, right, 12:01 a.m., SAG-AFTRA voice actors went on strike. And they're going on strike because of wanting the same protections, AI protections for voice actors as the physical actors are getting. And God, a couple union events ago for CFT, the vice president of SAG-AFTRA, who was actually Colin Powell's daughter, was speaking to our delegation about the AI protections they just wanted with their strike. And she talked about this coming, and here it is. So then the panel was basically voice actors talking about the future of video game performers is at stake, but our fight isn't single player. Whether you're a gamer, a fan, performer, a labor ally, or just someone who believes in fairness, we need you on our team. Come see our panel. Game actors on game actors. So the premise was them talking about, here's what we do as voice actors and performance capture artists, and want you to see like what we do is irreplaceable by AI, which kind of goes into the conversation you were talking about earlier. And then the first person comes out is fucking Ashley Birch. I had no idea who was going to be on the panel. I barely did much research on what I wanted to do. I just knew I wanted to do fucking Veilguard. So I get there, I'm like, oh, this is going to be cool. And it's timely. And I just came from a union event. I just heard SAG-AFTRA is fucking striking. And then it's fucking Ashley Birch come out on stage. Shannon Woodward, who played Dina in T-Lu 2 or Last of Us 2. We had
she was in Westworld as well.
Yeah, and she performer. And was she a lead or was she secondary? Do you know?
She was a supporting character, but she was in seasons 1 and 2.
Okay, because she mentioned that she was in Westworld. Her story was basically that she was at a party and Hallie Gross was there, who I think also wrote on Westworld. No. Is that right?
I have no clue.
Okay, so from her story, it was. So I think that's true. So she had a party. Hallie Gross was there, and she was like, "Hey, what are you working on now?" And Hallie Gross is like, kind of explains in very general terms what she's working on, and then I think she let it slip that she was doing it at Naughty Dog. And Shannon Woodward started doing what Ashley Birch called gamer math. And she was like, holy shit. And then she just said out loud, are you working on The Last of Us 2? And then Hallie Gross just went fucking white. And Shannon Woodward was like, look, I know that face. I'm not going to ask you any more questions, but I do want you to tell Neil Druckmann that I would die to make just a fucking single line in that game. And then like 4 or 5 months later, she gets an audition for a role, and she ends up playing Dina.
That's cool.
So that's fucking awesome. And then there was a performance capture artist who does a lot of, I think he's a veteran foreign military, but he does a lot of shooting PCAP, performance capture. But then halfway through, he talks about his first role, and he's like, my first role was in The Order 1886, and I fucking stand up and start clapping. And he's like, there's the dude who liked that game,
who played that game.
Yeah, exactly. I was like, go for it.
I still have your copy of that, actually.
That's where that went. Perfect.
You sent it to me. It sits on my bookshelf.
I did. Yes. Well, please enjoy it. If you ever get to it. It looks great. But anyway, so he was just like, someone played that fucking game. And then there was someone else who was like on the negotiations team and does producing voice actors or something. She's behind the scenes. And she's like, I promise I'm not going to get nerdy about contract. But then they just told, so many stories about AI, not AI, Jesus Christ, voice acting, and about how their performance like led to changes. Oh, you know what? Actually, that's not true. The guy who does PCAP that I was talking about, this military stuff, he was also the voice of Roger or somebody, main character in Red Dead Redemption 2.
Oh, okay.
And he was talking about how his delivery, he just took a few takes, and his final take kind of like shifted the way this character was presented, and then like the booth started kind of going crazy about it, and then started seeing those kind of changes in tone throughout the future of his lines. And he was like, my improv take like changed the trajectory of that character, which changed the trajectory of the story of the game. And he's like, AI can't do that. Like, I felt it, I did something, they reacted to it. Like, this is a very human thing. So that was cool. And at the end, they're like, oh yeah, we're gonna take questions now, and I fucking bum rushed them. I'm like, I was like, dude, first of all, like, I've been a video game player my entire life. I love video games, so I'm so excited to be here. However, I'm also a union president, just came from AFT. We stand in solidarity with you. We're looking at articles for AI in our field. What recommendations do you have from a contract perspective? And the contract nerd got really excited and gave a few examples. She was basically, it's just consent and compensation. That's what we're looking for, consent and compensation. And I was like, okay, those are two words that are easy to remember. Mm-hmm. The guy, his name is Noshir Dalal, Dalal, it looks like from my pictures. And shout out to that guy. He was wearing a mask, which was awesome to see. But it was so cool to see Ashley Birch. And then after that panel was like just an online video game panel about like EverQuest from Daybreak.
Daybreak, which is, they're effectively Sony Online renamed.
Oh, really? Yeah, that's right. You're right.
That's what, and they just kind of took over all of Sony. They are Sony Online Entertainment when Sony was shutting it down. They just separated.
And they're their own thing. They're not part of Sony anymore.
Yeah,
right?
they're not part of Sony. Mostly the same team, and they're just continuing the games that Sony SOE was working on. So
it was interesting, but just like they were not presenters. It was very dry, and I was like, all right, this is whatever. And then the next panel was Mortal Kombat 1, and this is where things started going like just happenstance. Khalif Adams, who does Spawn on Me, but he's also been on some kind of funny content, or quite a bit actually, was the fucking moderator, and I just got so hyped. So that I was more excited for him than the Mortal Kombat stuff. But the Mortal Kombat stuff was cool. They revealed some of the voice actors were there, and they revealed the new the roster for like the season pass or whatever. It's got like T100, it's got Conan, and it's got Ghostface from Scream. So it was pretty cool. A lot of the cinematics are really cool. They're bringing back Animalities, and that was cool. That was announced there. And then following that was the Veilguard. And, you know, we've already talked about the reveal of Veilguard and how it turned you off. And for me, it was like, not great, not bad, whatever. Yeah. And then we saw some gameplay, and it looked a little better. Before Comic-Con, they announced that the Steam Deck client was going to be native Steam OS without the EA launcher. So I was like, oh, that's cool. I could probably pick it up on the Steam Deck.
Yeah.
So that was positive news. And then this panel, again, the first person that comes out was Lucy James, who's from GameSpot, but also has done a ton of kind of funny content. So she's moderating. I'm losing my fucking mind. And then all the people from Dragon Age voice actors come out, and the VA voice actor, kind of like the, I don't know, producer or whatever. And it was just the voice actors talking about their experience for the last 3 years doing voice for this game. And I didn't realize, maybe you knew this and I had missed it. Did you know Matt Mercer is a voice actor in this game?
Yeah.
Okay, I didn't. I completely missed that.
Yeah, who is he?
He's like a rat or something. He's like someone's familiar. I think the necromancer has a familiar, or the skull that he talks to.
Okay,
some sort of familiar in some way. But the voice actors telling their stories about getting to know each other and playing off each other and digging into the characters, and like their passion was like so real, and their emotional experience with the story and with each other was so real. I was like, oh shit, there might actually be a good story in this game based upon how these people are not talking about the game so much, but as their experience being voice actors through the story. And I thought that was really cool. And that's the first time that I've got like really excited about this game. And it was about their passion doing what they do, which was really cool.
Yeah, the story has never really been my worry in the end. I think the story is probably going to be the best part of the game.
Yeah, it feels like it.
It's like it's if the gameplay and pressures from EA on how it should meet the market don't wreck the execution of the story. Like,
yeah.
That has always been my worry, is just what the game has to be to EA, as opposed to if BioWare was just like, hey, we are making a game to tell this story.
Yeah, that makes a lot of sense. The other piece that made me feel more confident and like more excited is that it sounds like the game's been done for almost a year, and they've just been polishing. So I hope that means good things. I'm cautiously optimistic, as opposed to like cautiously pessimistic, which is good. I do want to read the voice actors' names. There was Zach Mendez and Jessica Clark, who one's the assassin and one is like I forget the lady's name. I forget what even her class is. And then the other ones were Nick Borain and then Ali Hillis. Ali Hillis is the voice of Scout Harding. Mm-hmm. So that's cool. And Liana Tassoni from Mass Effect.
Yeah, there's a lot of... they put this out... when did this come out? Like a week ago?
Mm-hmm.
There was the main voice cast was unveiled.
Awesome.
And it was a lot of... people have worked on different BioWare games in the past.
Stuff,
yeah, which is fine. They probably use the same agency. Like
right.
You start noticing that there are certain agencies in voice recording, and depending on which studio, what agency they go with, they get a subset of voice actors.
Right.
I've noticed that with who was it? I can't remember the game. Zenless Zone Zero and like MiHoYo and everything.
Oh, like, yeah, sure.
There's a lot of shared voice actors across all their games, and I'm like, okay, the Critical Role, a lot of the Critical Role people are all clearly part of the same agency and the same, and they kind of, you start seeing not the main crit role cast, but like side people they have on at different times doing like their side stories and side games show up a lot in the same voice actor groups.
Right.
It's funny. I'm just like, okay, I see you. I see the fact that there's different companies that put these together and have like their short list that they pull from. So it's neat list. So how many people were on the panel total? You can keep going.
So this was the last panel of the day that I saw, and let me go back to the picture of the full panel. Oh, that's Mortal Kombat. Oh, give me a second. Scrolling through my pictures. So Lucy James moderating. Then there was the creative director, and then the voice actor, producer, basically. And then there were 4 voice actors, so a total of 7. 6 on the panel from BioWare.
All right.
And then they gave you a ticket. Like they gave some ticket to all the people in the audience, and I was like, what the fuck do I do with this? But I found it the next day. Basically, I went to the BioWare booth on the floor, and I was like, okay, I got this ticket. Well, I don't know what to do with it. And he's like, oh, it's for a poster, which I'm going to give you anyways. So you can choose. They had pins there from all the pins for each character in the game. And he's like, usually we just give one to everybody, but you can have the whole set. So he gave me a whole set of the pins, and I got the poster.
That's
for
awesome.
Veilguard. It was very cool. Very, very cool. Before I forget, so Lucy James was moderating, and Lucy James does a lot of stuff on GameSpot with Timur Hussein. Do you know Timur Hussein? Mm-hmm. Yeah. So, and he's been on Kind of Funny content a lot too. I love him. He's great. He's like a wonderful critic. Really just an awesome dude, and like speaks up for, Palestinian rights and just a lot of cool stuff. Important stuff that we believe in too. Mm-hmm. At the end of the panel, I see him run to the front and take a picture of Lucy because that's his partner. His podcast partner or whatever else. And I was like, holy shit, it's Tam. So everybody rushes the stage to go take pictures of the BioWare crew. Not me. I run up and and I just like look for him. And I was like, I'm going to do it. I'm just going to say hi. So I walk up to where he is. Like his back is to me. I'm like, I think this is him. This guy's way shorter than I thought. But I'm like, Tam? And he turns around and I just introduce myself. I'm like, I'm a big fan. I just wanted to say hi. Thanks for everything you do. I love your podcast. And shook his hand. He's like, oh, great. Thank you so much. It's really nice to meet people who love our content. And thanks for listening, blah, blah. And that was it. And I left and I was like, oh my God, I just met him. I shook his hand. This is great. So I was just like, I went to these panels. They're hosted by people that I love. I got to meet this guy that I really respect and love listening to. And that was super cool. And that was day 1 of Comic-Con. Next day, I brought my daughter and got her a child pass. And as we are in line, we're talking about there are people who are dressed up in costume. So we might see someone that you like, and it'd be cool to get a picture of, whatever, but I didn't know what we would see. As soon as we get in line, we're behind the Yiga clan. And she just loses her mind because every night she wants a Master Koga and Suga story. So I tell her Master Koga and Suga stories every night. And she's like, oh my gosh, the Yiga clan. So we took a picture of the Yiga clan. And as we're taking a picture with the Yiga clan, some dude dressed as Maui from Moana comes up and says, I'm Maui. You want my picture too? And he gives me his phone. to take his picture with the Yiga clan and my daughter. So I'm like, what the fuck? Okay. I take a picture or two with his phone. I'm like, okay, now I'm going to take one with my phone. Took pictures with my phone too. And I gave him the phone back. And he's like, I'm Maui. Mahalo. I was like, oh, gee, okay, bud. So we went and got her badge. And then we just walked around the show floor, hit the floor. And it's like, we're on the floor for like 20 seconds, and all of a sudden someone just like, I just see them in my peripheral vision just sprinting toward us, and they just stop, and they've got a Tinkerbell book, and it's a rep from Disney, and she's like, this is great for kids that are 8+, and I just wanted to get it to you so that maybe you could read it with your daughter. And I was like, awesome. And Tessa was like, what the heck? What is this? I'm like, I don't know. That's never happened to me in my life. I've never been run up to somebody on the show floor and given me something. So she was excited about that. And we went and did, I don't know if you know what the Doomlings are. I think it's the next thing from Exploding Kittens, that team. It looks like the same art, but they had like an activation where you could like spin and get a prize, and she did that. And we just walked around and just saw a bunch of, every single kind of, studio, toy, stuffy, everything on the floor, right? And we took her to Artist Alley and got a few things signed by different artists of things that she just saw and she liked. I passed Jen Taylor and Steve Downs.
Okay.
They were just there signing, and I was like, holy shit, if I wasn't here with my daughter right now, I'd get in line and get something signed. Oh my God. And then about an hour and a half later, she was done. So I took her back out. Her mom picked her up, and then I was back to myself. Ran back into Comic-Con, and in the what is it? Marriott. They have kind of like chill areas. There's like a board game area. There's a card game area, and there's a pinball area. So I went to the pinball area. I was like, I'm just going to chill here for a little bit, just kind of before I go back to the show floor, just kind of a chill area. And then I just go and want to choose a random pinball machine to play. And I walk up to this one. I didn't even notice what it was until I was standing there watching the guy, and I was like, what the fuck? Is that Dave Grohl? Oh my God, it's Foo Fighters pinball. What the fuck?
Yeah, the Foo Fighters pinball. I know what
that is. Have you heard of this?
No, I've heard of it. I've watched a video of it being like, there was a YouTube thing about the people who made it. And they talk about making the pinball machine. Man, when was this? Is it Stern? Must have got linked at work at one point.
Stern. It is Stern, yeah.
Yeah, I watched the making of it. Where they just talk. God. It's like a 5-minute YouTube video where they just talk about like making this pinball machine and like the art direction of it and who they got to do the art and why it's set up how it is and the goals of the machine. I
gotta watch that. So the guy was sitting there playing it, and I was just recording him. I didn't have him on the video, but I was recording him playing the thing, and he was like maybe a little bit weirded out that I was recording him playing. So when he finished, he kind of left, and I just fucking played. And I was like, oh my God, this is awesome. My daughter would have loved this. She loves the Foo Fighters. This is a chill, cool area. And then I just walked around the show floor, and just took pictures of lots of different kind of, everything you expect on the floor of San Diego Comic-Con. But then after a while, I was like, okay, I'm done. Like, I'm not really going to buy a bunch of stuff. I want to go to a panel. And I was like, okay, I'll think about what, maybe I'll look in the book and kind of zero in on something interesting. As I'm thinking of that, I'm walking past the Random House booth, which I'm going to get back to later. And I noticed there's a Critical Role book. And I was like, oh, cool. I forgot they had some novels. Like, oh, I wonder if they're signed. And usually the signed books have like a little bookmark sticking up that says signed or whatever. So I had something sticking up out of it. And I was like, okay, cool. Maybe it's signed. I went to grab it, and I was like, oh, this says Critical Role panel today at 3. What the fuck? Critical Role is here? I literally did not do much research about what was at San Diego Comic-Con. I just was going, and whatever happened. And I was like, fuck, all right, well, I'm going to Ballroom 20. And I was like, I'm probably not going to get in. Ballroom 20 is like Hall H. It's huge and huge lines, whatever. But I go, and again, it just bumblefucked my way into the right place. It went boom, boom, boom. And then I got in line. We're outside in the tents, and I was like, the line is huge. I'm not getting in. 20 minutes later, I'm in. That line just moved. And I was there for American Dad, which didn't look very interesting to me. Family Guy, which looked really cool. I've never watched Family Guy, but it looked awesome. Maybe
American Dad's made by the same person.
Yeah, it seemed like it was.
It's all Seth MacFarlane.
Yeah. But it didn't seem appealing to me. Maybe it's better than what they portrayed. But
it's all the same humor. I'm going to be honest.
Okay. Family Guy was fucking funny as shit, though. I was like, oh my God, I should try to watch this. But then I just kept moving closer and closer. Every time they would cycle out, I'd move, next panel, move up. And then it was Critical Role. And there was a Q&A of Critical Role. And I thought there'd be spoilers for season 3 or whatever that I haven't watched yet, but there wasn't. Just people asking questions and I'm answering them. Taliesin and, Taliesin Jaffe and why am I blanking on his name? Boy. The guy who had throat cancer.
Oh, Sam.
Thank you. Jesus Christ. Sam Riegel. We're not there, but everyone else was there. It was really cool to just see them. I love seeing Critical Role. They showed some footage from the next season of Vox Machina, which comes out October 3rd. Then they talked about how they're working right now simultaneously on
Mighty Nine, right?
Mighty Nine, exactly. And speaking of that, they showed what do they call it? An animatic? It was basically like storyboard with animation from that.
Cool.
And it was really, really cool. So that was awesome. And then it made me remember that they are doing this abridged thing, which I went and found that night. I'm already through 2 episodes of season 3 abridged, which is like such a awesome way to watch it. It cuts out everything but the story. And it's just very coherent and fucking hilarious. These first 2 episodes are hilarious. I don't know how far you got in season 3.
Like 40 some odd episodes in.
Okay.
Ways.
Yeah.
God, then you're meeting Bertram Bell. God, I love.
Oh my God.
Travis's character is so good. I love his character so much.
Hilarious. This second episode, he's like, they go in to meet the Lord or whatever, and just a fucking fight breaks out, and he just like, for his turn, he just walks away, goes to the mantle, gets a thing of scotch, and just sits there drinking it. And they're like, what the fuck? And then he decides to they light the fucking desk on fire or whatever, and he decides to throw his snifter of scotch at it to more fire. Basically, he rolls a fucking 1 and it just hits Ashley Johnson's character in the back of the head. Oh my God, it was so fucking hilarious.
Yeah.
So anyway, it's so cool. And through that, I saw that there's like 14 episodes of that abridged one on YouTube, and there are like 34 on Beacon. So then I learned what Beacon was, which is their own service basically, or whatever, their own portal to Critical Role content that you can.
Is it just them or is it other people?
It's just them. Yeah.
Really?
I thought it was at least from what I can tell from the website, it was just them. And I could be wrong. I looked, for maybe 20 minutes to try to figure out what it was and how much it cost or whatever. And I was like, oh, that's interesting, because they're like, if I get into this, like, YouTube is way behind the abridged.
You're right. It's just them. I'm at the website. It's just all the Critical Role things.
So it's interesting because it's $6 a month, which means that for each person on YouTube or Twitch or whatever, they're making less than that. I don't know, man. But it seemed like a pretty reasonable
you don't
price.
make a lot of money on YouTube, I'll be honest.
Yeah, right. So it must be cost effective for them. So anyway, I'm looking at it. But yeah, there's stuff on Beacon. So, again, more stuff. I saw Zenless Zone 0 activation, which, whatever. But then towards the end of the night, right before I'm getting ready to leave, I go back to the Random House place because I wanted to go back and look at the Critical Role books. And I'm sitting there looking at the Critical Role books, and just to my right is a guy from Random House talking to a dude about this book in front of him. And he's like, oh, yeah, we have only, this is a Comic-Con only edition. There's, there were 2 wristbands on the table. So there's only 2 more left. And talking about how it's, the exclusive edition and it's signed by the authors. And then he says the authors' names. He's like Keanu Reeves and China Mieville. And I'm like, what the fuck? Put the fucking Critical Role book down, and I just head on a swivel.
You're like, I'll take that.
I fucking, there's a huge crush of people doing a whole bunch of different things, or a bunch of different crisscrossing lines. I just get right behind this fucking dude who's getting a wristband. I'm like, there's 1 more wristband. So he leaves, and he's like telling the guy, go across to find the lady in the pink, and she'll get you the book. You can get it now or later when the line dies down at 6, but you got one because you have the wristband. And there's 1 more wristband on the table. And I'm like, can you tell me what you just told him? What is this? He's like, well, it's a collaboration. It's called The Book of Elsewhere. Keanu Reeves and China Mieville. It's a novel. Then he told me what the story of the novel was, and how on the surface it's this action, almost sound like John Wick like. But below the surface there's all these questions or whatever. And I was like, wow. And he's like, and I'm like, oh, is it because he said it was a Comic-Con only edition. He had white gloves on, by the way, touching this book, and he showed me that like the edge of the paper is all black, and he's showing me the foil inside, and I was like, oh wow, you're really going all out, showing me like the features of this book. And he flips the page, and this is where they signed it. I was like, holy fuck, Keanu Reeves and China Miéville signed that fucking book. And he's like, yep, and this is for $100. I was like, fucking sold. Give me a give me a wristband.
Give me it now.
And I was like, dude, like, so then I got it, went over there. And then the other lady who, it was at the Mysterious Galaxy booth where they had it, where they were actually doing the transactions. She holds it up, and white gloves again, holds it up, shows me the spine, shows me the every single side of it, every single edge. And then she's like, okay, is that good? And I was like, I need to see the signature page. No, I don't want to crack the spine. Just lift it up a little bit so I can see there's a signature there. I'm spending $100 on a fucking book. I want to make sure the signatures are there.
Yeah.
She does that, and then she gives the book to somebody else. And I was like, what the fuck just happened? And she grabs another book, and she's like, okay, this is your book. I was like, why did you show me that book then? So we went through the whole thing again. She didn't show me the signature page. I'm like, I'm sorry, I need you to show me the signature page again. She did. It was there, and I asked her to put it in a bag, and then I get it, and that was it. And then I texted you in a flurry. I was like, holy fuck, this thing. And you're like, please go back and see if there's another one. And unfortunately, that was the last one for the day. Yeah. There was more today, but I wasn't there.
I immediately started Googling this thing. Like, what the hell is this? I have not heard of this. China Miéville hasn't actually done a book in a bit. And I was like, how the hell is he working with Keanu Reeves on this? And what is this? So it's Berserker is Keanu Reeves created comic book. This comic book universe.
Right. With Boom.
And they were long ago, that came out in 2021. Boom, the publisher at Boom, and we're asking, okay, if we want to expand this, we'd like to potentially do a novel. Who would you want to write it? Your dream author to write this book? Keanu Reeves, China Miéville. Which blows my mind that you're like, okay, Keanu Reeves has great taste in authors. I'm gonna say that.
Yeah, clearly, Jesus.
And he's like, I don't think he'll ever do it, but that's my dream. Because he's like, why would China Miéville write this pulpy, actiony book? But they actually met and talked about it and came to a pretty big agreement on terms of it, and they both had to be in agreement that it was good before it ever got released. They both had to be happy with it. And then they were completely silent about it for years. Crazy. They just kept it secret. It got announced January of this year. Was the first time anyone ever said this book existed, and it was coming out in July. So, I'm just what is this thing? It came out this week, actually. Yeah, a couple days before Comic-Con.
Because they had copies, a different cover, different everything. And I was like, oh, I guess this is out. So that's wild. This is this book now is the most special book that I own. And I have a lot of really special books. This is one of 100. This variant, and it's signed by both of them. What the fuck?
Yeah,
I cannot believe it. So obviously, I'm not gonna read this version. I'm gonna leave it on the shelf and read a different version. But
sure.
Wild. And
the reviews have been pretty. Reception of it is pretty interesting. Basically going it's kind of pulpy and everything, but very elevated by China Miéville.
That's exactly what the guy was saying. Yeah.
It's well, come for the pulpy action, stay for the really good writing and Freudian themes and depth. I'm like, what the hell has happened here?
Well, it has a quote on the back, like you had mentioned in Discord, but if you flip the book over to the back cover, it's a quote from Gibson.
The Gibson quote. Yeah. I don't know, man. But you pointed me to it now, so I'm like, okay, I'm going to be getting a copy of this. Theoretically, people have the copy you have up on eBay.
Oh, yeah.
I really felt like if I like it enough, I would consider.
Yeah. How much is it on for eBay? I'm not selling mine, by the way. I'm just curious.
Let's see. Book of Elsewhere, the Comic-Con edition, $160.
Okay. That's not too much more than...
That's a buy it now, and then there's an auction that just went up starting at $50, but I bet it will probably end around 160 or so. Like, there's other signed copies, non-Comic-Con signed copies by both of them, and they seem to float between 150 to 250 depending on the person trying to sell it. So
I don't want to tell you what to do with your money, but because there aren't very many editions of the Comic-Con one, 160 seems pretty reasonable considering where it might be later in life. But you do you.
Yeah.
But man,
holy cow,
fucking wild. So it's just the Comic-Con this year. I feel so great about not planning, because if I had planned, I would have like really forced myself to go places and missed the opportunities that I just bumbled into. So this was like the most special Comic-Con for me because my daughter was there. That was a fun time. But then seeing people that I really respect that weren't even like the main people of the panel, they were just the moderators, meeting Tam, and then this fucking book just out of nowhere, I just felt like either there are so many special opportunities around Comic-Con, anyone can just bumble into any of them, or I just got lucky. It's really cool. Oh, and then I saw Justin Hartley. I don't know if you know Justin Hartley. If you watched This Is Us, he was Kevin.
No.
Oh, okay.
No.
An actor from the show that we really liked. And I was like, holy shit, it's Kevin Hartley. Wow. That's kind of how Comic-Con goes. A bunch of famous people are in. So, and there's probably more famous people I didn't see,
Sure.
Seth Green was on a panel I was at, and that was cool. But, man, San Diego Comic-Con, I'm so excited to go back next year and to do the same thing I did this year, which is like, go a couple of days. Don't go all 4.
Yeah.
It was really the right vibe. So.
That's cool.
Yeah.
I need to go again. It's been way too long.
It'd be cool if you could go next year.
20 years since I went.
Jesus.
But that's where I met Sean Astin.
Oh, wow.
Got a picture with Sean Astin because we were putting out a Lord of the Rings miniatures game. And so I have a picture with
that's right.
The miniature we made of Samwise holding a frying pan as a weapon. And I have a picture with him, with me holding that figure. It was just random. Awesome. It was just kind of happenstance thing. He was there. And when we were showing that game, we had space in the Warner Brothers booth while we were showing it. So Comic-Con, just happenstance in a lot of ways, I will say. Things just happen.
Yeah, that's exactly what it felt like. There's one more thing I didn't mention that we alluded to earlier. The last thing I did, I went back to the game room and I was just like, maybe I'll just join someone's game. But then I saw they were playtesting a bunch of different games, and I was like, I'll do a playtest. So I joined this woman who was teaching how to play a TCG called Exfinitum. And it was like a really crunchy strategy game where it's almost, she said it's kind of built on like a fighting game. It was very cyberpunky, but it was a fighting game where you have your champions and you're kind of augmenting your champions, and you have a backup champion, sort of like Mortal Kombat 1 where you have like the cameo character that comes in and comes out, or like Tekken Tag or whatever. But then you can augment them, and there's just a bunch of crunchy rules, and it took a while to get it, but it was fun. And I gave feedback or whatever, and then I asked a question about, something about the game, and they're like, you can talk to this person who has more information about it, who I thought was the designer. It wasn't the designer. The designer was Jared Garcia, I think. But this guy was like, it's really cool because we are using digital tokens so that if you ever lose your card, it's tied to that token. So as long as you own that token, we just print out a new card for you. And then if your card ever gets lost, we can replace it. And then if you trade it, those tokens go with the person you traded with so that you could never use that card. Your paper copy becomes invalid. And if you're ever in a tournament, it would be ruled illegal. And as the more he was talking about it, I was like, And he's like, it's like a really, we're very excited about getting involved in the blockchain. And I was like, okay, bud. And then so he left, and I turned back to the lady who I was playing with. I was like, dude, I just want to tell you, I had a great time playing this game. I feel like it could be a really fun thing. It's really crunchy. Like there's some things, I have small piece of feedback, but overall it was a great experience. As soon as that dude said blockchain, I lost all interest. And she was like, yeah, I wish he would stop doing that. He info dumps and is so excited about the blockchain, whereas we're just excited about the design of the game. And then the designer came over, who was the husband of the person who taught me how to play the game. And she was like, yeah, Mark or whatever his name was, talking about the blockchain again. And I was like, look, dude, I'm not like NFTs, blockchain, not excited at all. That drops my interest to zero. How do you combat that? And he's like, yeah, it's just to keep track of your cards. There's no NFTs. It's not any of that shit. But as soon as we say blockchain, interest drops to zero. I was like, yeah, you need to figure this out, because I was interested, and now I'm like, no, I'm not. So yeah, that's probably what you discovered when you were reading up.
I found it was I would look to the studio that was making it, because your picture you sent had the studio Yotun Yo, and I was like,
exactly.
Okay. I was like, okay, what is this? And then I was just reading through it, and it's like, okay, this is the stupidest word I've ever seen. An independent studio is starting to tell the world about its Fidigital TCG game.
Fidigital.
Figital.
Like fiduciary and digital?
PHYGITAL.
Physical digital?
Digital, yeah. And actually, now I'm looking at the word, and I'm like, my brain is like, that seems obscene, actually. The word just like, it's like, I'm pretty sure this could be like on Urban Dictionary somewhere.
Oh my God.
But either way, I was like, oh, okay. And the company is helmed by this guy, Peter J. Watts. I don't know if he was there, probably not, but he's helming the company that is funding this thing. I was like, why do I know that name? He created a long time ago, like when probably 2003 through 4, when I was making card games, he made the Cyberpunk collectible card game based on the Cyberpunk role-playing game. It didn't go anywhere. I will say that. I still have some of the cards. It was a mess of a game back then. He had just like got out of college, I think, at that point, and just made a game. So it was very weird to see the name. I was like, okay, he is now heading up a blockchain company. Which blockchain, I should say, is just using blockchain doesn't necessarily make NFTs or anything like that.
And that's what they were trying to say.
Blockchain
exactly.
is just a technology. But everything you just mentioned there, I'm like, is this actually helping being on the blockchain? Like what they were talking about, like, yeah, we could print you out another card, but if you trade the card and now someone else owns it, but if you're in a tournament and you have it, I'm like, I feel like there's just going to be a level of logistical nightmare there when trying to play this game in tournaments or anything. I mean, like, all right, check my cards, like, make sure that I have all that I own these cards. I don't know. It just adds layers of complexity that I'm like, I don't want that complexity.
I'll tell you what it felt like to me, and this is entirely fair, but it's the first thing that jumped to my mind. 20 years ago or whatever, when I was in the Peace Corps, I wrote a fantasy novel. You read it. It was not very good. Imagine if I was getting ready to publish that novel and my idea was to make action figures for all of my characters. No one gives a fuck about this book. No one's going to give a fuck about the action figures. People have to care about the book before you do anything else with it. And it just felt like they were like, when the tournament scene pops up around this game, then we're going to have all this stuff set up. It's like, is there going to be a tournament scene around your game? So kind of feel like the carts before the horse on that a little bit.
Yeah, I could. Yeah.
That's what it felt like to me.
Yeah. And to be honest, a lot of that sounds very tech, really.
Yes.
So, I looked it up and was like, nope.
Mm-hmm.
I would say there's parts that interest me, and then whenever they fidgetal, whatever that term was, I was like, I'm out. You're trying to make some buzzword here. It's not working. Like, and it's interesting. I'm like, I've never heard of this. So did they have physical? I assume you're playing with physical cards,
Yeah,
like actual nicely printed. I'm like, is it out? Could I actually go to? Could you actually buy this?
No, they were playtesting. They're still, fixing the game. They're trying to optimize based on feedback and stuff. So, there were some things that was like, the flavor text said this, or the ability said this. So then I did the thing, and I was like, did the way that she told me. I was like, actually, that doesn't make any sense, because this says to recycle the card and then exchange it with any other card. But you're saying that when I recycle, I have to exchange it with the last card that was recycled, but it doesn't say that. It says any card. So it should be any card. It's like, oh, well, yeah, he wants it to be this. I'm like, well, it doesn't fucking say that. So there's some stuff that needed to be figured out. But yeah, that was the last thing I did, and then I left Comic-Con for the year. So there's my San Diego Comic-Con report.
Couldn't escape before getting at least a little Web3 jab in there.
it was the only one from the whole weekend. I was like, thank God. But no one else mentioned Web3 anywhere. So
yep, that's funny.
Yeah.
Cool. Sounds awesome.
It was great, man. It was really great. So why don't we pivot now to what we've been playing? I will go last because I've been talking a lot. So why don't you go first?
Yeah. Like I said, I was in the office all last week. So I was using the Steam Deck quite a bit on my commute, waiting on ferries and the water taxis, and was playing Kunitsugami on it.
Nice.
I'm probably like 80% of the way through that game. It's really neat. I just kind of still can't believe the game actually exists. It's real weird, but it definitely feels like it has a bunch of content. Like each stage after like the second one twists the formula a little bit in different ways. So you go into stage and like, okay, what's going to be the thing on this one? Something's going to be different. I'm going to have to adapt. And they play with their mechanics a lot, and it's really neat. Storytelling wise, I was shocked how much I care for how little text and dialogue is in that game. But I understand the story. It's very straightforward. The maiden the mountain's been corrupted. The maiden has been saved from the top of the mountain at the shrine at the top. Weirdly, the game, this is the thing that you might think, oh, I'm climbing back up the mountain. No, you're actually like going down the mountain, like clearing places on their path down the mountain to, I think at the end, go up the center path to the mountain. Like the final stage, I think, is going to be like a really big stage, going back up. But I was surprised how much I'm kind of invested, especially in the character of the maiden, by how far I'm into the game. And I actually right now I'm like, I don't know what's going to happen to her, if she's going to survive this whole thing.
Oh, interesting.
Like there's some twists there. And again, not with dialogue, just very kind of like no theater, traditional Japanese theater and storytelling. It's neat. I think there was a Kotaku article came out a couple days ago, just like, this game shouldn't exist in 2024. Yeah, Capcom made a game that doesn't belong in 2024, and it's fantastic. And I'm like,
That's
yeah,
awesome.
that sums it up. This is not a game you would expect to see now. But the mechanics and everything, it's a lot of fun. Having a blast with that. Weirdly continue to play Zenless Zone Zero. My biggest complaint before, what was disjointed, is actually what makes it the easiest to play.
Really?
Because I can just drop in and drop out of it so fast.
Oh, interesting.
Like, it is much more the mobile game, short sessions, than Genshin or Honkai ever was.
Oh, wow. Okay.
So it fits that better, and I'm like, oh, that's why it's disjointed. I can do a little stuff in this map. I can do a little combat. I can do a little exploration thing and be done like super fast. So I continue with that, and that's been fine. But I'm back on my bullshit. Path of Exile League launched on Friday.
Oh my God, you're back again.
Oh, it's real good. This one is this league is so good. They rebalanced melee completely.
Okay.
So melee skills feel so good. Holy crap, it's been so long. And then the mechanics that they actually added to the game where you're building a settlement. It's like a city builder almost. On top of Path of Exile. So you're like, that's new. It's called, because this league is called Settlers of Kalgor. And you're building the settlement of Kalgor. And you like hire workers and assign them to like mines and the farms, blacksmithing, sailing. So you're like, produce all these goods and you then ship them off to different ports around the world, and you win this is all done in real time. So you like send it away and it's like, it will be back in 45 minutes. So you know, the check back in 45 minutes and, in real minutes you check back, and then you're like, okay, we did this shipment. What did they send back? And it's just like a big treasure chest of gear and items and currency.
That's so cool.
It's real good. I think the game feels better than it's ever felt since I've played. Just
wow,
ability wise,
getting better and better.
Yeah, this one feels real good. And it's good because I think Diablo 4's next league starts next week.
Is it next week?
Season 5, I think.
This is the truncated one, right? Season 5 is truncated before the
I think it's only 2 months.
Yeah.
When does it start? It's on the public test realm. But it's interesting to see because I'm like, I think the Path of Exile League might like overshadow what they're doing with this league for Diablo 4. I still recommend for people if they want to play Path of Exile. Right now is a really good time. Ton of fun. You can choose any of the melee skills and kind of work around those, and it will feel great.
That's awesome.
Yeah, I kind of amazed that they just keep pushing. Season 5 of Diablo 4 will launch August 6th and run till October 8th. So it's only a 2-month league.
2 months. Yeah,
as opposed to the 3 or sometimes 4.
Rod Ferguson said they're truncating it because I guess they started this one a little late, but then obviously they're dropping Vessel of Hatred. So
yeah, they want to start a league right when Vessel of Hatred drops.
Yep.
Oh man, if you like action RPGs,
this is your time.
It's a real good time. That's what I've been playing.
Let me tell you, if you like college football, now is your fucking time. Because I was gone for the most part. So while I was gone, I was playing Tunic. I think I talked a little bit about that last time. Continued to explore. That fucking game is goddamn special. That is such a special experience. Something I haven't really experienced in any other games in terms of it doesn't tell you how to play the game. There are instruction manuals around that you've got to find that then start to elucidate what you're supposed to be doing, what your abilities do, how you level up. Everything is just unveiled by finding more pieces of the instruction manual. So it's like a hunt for those, but also otherwise just working it out on your own. It's great. But other than that, I've been playing college football 25. Still, it's just, it's so good. Playing Dynasty mode, bringing the San Diego State Aztecs through their first season and doing okay. I'm having a lot of fun with this football sports game, which is crazy because I don't like Madden. College football, man, you got me. Playing Ducks, playing San Diego State. I'm very happy. And then last night I picked up Valorant. Valorant's come out at least in beta form on the console. Ooh, it's great. It's just like that old Counter-Strike itch. Like
it's hero shooter Counter-Strike.
Yeah, it is.
That's exactly what it is. That's what it's trying to be.
And it feels, what's the right word I'm looking? Not reserved is the wrong word, but like it doesn't do too much.
Sure.
It is very much like plant the bomb, defuse the bomb. You have your hero abilities, but then you just got the buying the guns like Counter-Strike, and it's just all very straightforward, not too hard to get into, and it's just like I found fun in the first 2 minutes. And the community, or at least the people that I was playing with last night online, were really nice. And like, hey, like I wasn't using comms, but they were, and directing people by name and like, hey, go there, you go here. Oh, good job. We almost got it. We can do it next time or whatever. And it was just like, what the fuck? This is a Riot game, right?
Yeah,
like,
pretty much. I'm like, is that? Oh, that's not true. I've seen streamers play Valorant on PC. That's the Riot community. Like, holy crap. They had to mute all comms and voice from other people because they were just being sworn at and racial slurred at constantly. So maybe it's the fact do they...
Is it crossplay? I don't know.
Yeah, they probably don't say it. And like, do they mix the console and PC players? Because they might not. Just be like, nope, we're not doing that. I haven't looked into it, but...
Yeah, let me look real fast. Crossplay explained. From Charlie Intel. Valorant's coming to consoles, limited beta. Wonder if you can play with your friends on PC. Here's everything you need to know. Does it have crossplay? Valorant does not support crossplay between PC and console.
So you're getting nicer players, a nicer curated community.
I was surprised, man, because I was like, "What the fuck is happening?" Someone should be telling me they're fucking my mom in the backyard or whatever.
Yep.
But it was fun. I had a great time. I was like, "Oh my god." This is something I can add to my rotation. And then today I picked up, because of the panel, I guess, I picked up Mortal Kombat 1. It was on sale for $28, down from 70, which was a pretty fucking good deal. And I played some Mortal Kombat tonight and got my ass kicked. Got my ass handed to me because I'm used to playing Street Fighter right now. But otherwise, that's what I've been playing.
Nice. You're talking about deals. I gotta see if this is still up. Green Man Gaming had Like a Dragon for super cheap.
Really?
Through Steam.
Okay.
Oh yeah, the deal is done.
That sucks.
I got the Legendary Hero Edition, so it's the Everything Edition. All DLC, $5.
For what? What?
I know.
How?
I don't know.
Okay, was that like a fucking mistake?
No, I think it was like just a short deal. They're doing like a summer sale right now on Green Man.
Jesus.
Which is they do keys, but as far as I know, I've done research on them. They're not a scummy key reseller. Like they legitimately get. They don't steal people's credit cards to buy keys.
Okay, that's what I was kind of what I was wondering. Okay,
no, they are not.
But it was Like a Dragon. It was the first one, not the second one.
First one it was the first one, which I didn't own. I don't own on anything, but now I own it on Steam for it was $5.40 in the end. And it's verified on Steam Deck.
Yeah, I have it on Steam Deck.
So I'm like, I probably will play that at some point.
Did you buy it?
Which one?
You bought it. You're saying you bought it.
I did buy it for that price.
Did you put the key into Steam?
Yes.
Who the fuck did I give Like a Dragon to then? Because I thought I gave it to you. Did I give it to someone else?
You did not give me Like a Dragon.
Was it Travis? Okay.
I had looked before. I did not own Like a Dragon.
Okay. Interesting. I thought I gave it to one of you guys. Oh, well. That's cool. I am looking forward to when we finally play that game.
Yeah. I feel like I should start there.
Yeah.
TV show.
This says, who did I sending you Like a Dragon privately? That was to...
You did. To me.
I sent it to you.
Well, this get me all the DLC for $5.
That's fucking great. Yeah. Okay. So then pass that code.
Maybe, I wonder if I ever you said did I redeem?
That's what I'm asking. Because it says I'm sending you the code privately. So I sent it to you. I wonder if there are different versions.
No, I only have one version in my library.
Oh, so you just didn't redeem it then?
I probably forgot. I was probably at a place I couldn't redeem it, and I forgot it. So you should just see if anybody else wants that.
Interesting. That's funny.
That's hilarious. Yeah, because no, I didn't. I bet I didn't redeem it then. I'll be honest. Because I would have known. Because I checked my library before, where I'm like, I don't think I have it.
Okay. All right. Well, if you're still on the podcast right now, here you go. Yakuza Like a Dragon. 8RDFR VFKKR JTJ6C. All right.
It's hilarious.
That's so funny. I was like, I swear to God, I gave that to you. I gave you fucking recently. I just gave you the Stray Gods.
I redeemed that one.
Got it.
Like, actually, because like you sent it, and I redeemed it right then.
Yeah.
I really bet I just was in a place when you sent it,
yeah, sure.
where I could do. I was just.
No,
So I was
cool.
like, I'll do it when I get back, and then because
it's totally fine. I was just making sure
Discord DMs are obnoxious once I read them, and then they go into the ether.
They do. That's true. They disappear for the most part. Cool. Well, one day we'll play that game and be able to talk about it. Cool. Anything else for the podcast today?
No, I'm all good.
All right. Well, thanks everyone for listening to episode 441 of Prof and Dev Play Games. If you like us, please rate us on your podcast service of choice. Also check out our sibling podcast, which is the RPG Backlog. We just finished our run of Undertale and it was awesome. Now we're moving into Final Fantasy Adventure in a couple of weeks, so stay tuned for that. And we will be back next week to talk about. We're moving into fall.
Unions. Maybe more unions. Let's see.
Let's see who unionizes in the next week. That sounds great. All right, everybody. Thank you so much for listening, and we will see you next week.
Later, everyone.
Different people. Now you can like different people then.